Welcome to Cupid's Manhwa. Today I'll be recapping a romance manhwa called Deeply in Love. Enjoy! She used to be a rich heiress, but now she's down on her luck. Ji Xian never expected that one accident would land her in the arms of Song Jiali, a man who had clearly been waiting for this moment. Outside the car, rain poured down in heavy sheets. Inside, the air was thick with heat. Overcome by desire, Ji Xian instinctively leaned in, pressing a kiss to Song Jiali's Adam's apple. He let her go on for a while before finally grabbing her wrist, voice deep and teasing. "Just a game, huh?" Ji Xian's eyes were misty, rimmed with a flush of red. "Just a game," she whispered. Song Jiali's fingers traced lazily down her back, his smirk carrying a hint of danger. "Fine. Just don't come crying to me later." When the tension reached its breaking point, Ji Xian lowered her head and kissed him hard. The storm outside only got heavier, mirroring the chaos inside. An hour later, the windows were fogged up, rain still hammering down, and Ji Xian's red dress was in complete disarray. She bent down to reach for her fallen stiletto, slipping it back on. Song Jiali sat there, his shirt half unbuttoned, gaze hooded as he looked at her. His lips curled up slightly, almost absent-mindedly, as he murmured, "You really shouldn't have had that drink at the party." Ji Xian didn't respond right away. Through a long pause, her voice came out distant and cool. "Thank you, President Song." Song Jiali let out a low chuckle, one eyebrow raised. "Just thank you? After all that?" Ji Xian ignored the amusement in his tone, pretending not to notice the way he was looking at her. "I'll treat you to a meal sometime," she said lightly. Then, without waiting for his response, she pushed open the car door and stepped out. Her heels clicked against the pavement, and though her pace seemed quick, her steps were anything but steady. She was holding herself together through sheer willpower. Till inside the car, Song Jiali watched her retreating figure. A few seconds later, there was a sharp knock on his window. Liao Bei, his childhood friend, leaned on the car door with a smirk. "Damn old Song. That was some serious stamina. You shook this big-ass car like it was nothing." Sliding into the passenger seat, Liao Bei grinned. "I know that girl, Ji Xian, right? The new project manager at Wanxing Group. But, doesn't she have a boyfriend? Some guy named Xiao something?" Song Jiali lit a cigarette, exhaling slowly. His tone was indifferent. "Is that so? Never heard of him." Liao Bei clicked his tongue. "Yeah, sure. Keep playing dumb." Song Jiali just rested his long fingers against his chin, cigarette between them, his smile lazy and unreadable. For getting home, Ji Xian took a hot bath, replaying everything that had happened tonight. Every drink she had at the celebration party, every person she interacted with, and finally, her encounter with Song Jiali. She scrutinized every detail before locking onto a suspect, the waiter who handed her that glass of red wine. Thinking back, she had been way too careless. The old foxes at the company were so scared of her getting in their way that they resorted to such dirty tricks. Xiao Jing had straight up thrown her to the wolves just to cozy up to the powerful. Ji Xian, keeping the bigger picture in mind, hadn't caused a scene. Good thing she ran into Song Jiali in the end. That moment was still burned into her memory, humiliating as hell. Back then, Song Jiali had reached out to her, leaning down to murmur in her ear, "Relax. It's just alcohol. I'm not that kind of guy." Ji Xian was lost in thought when her phone suddenly rang. She answered, and her mother's concerned voice came through. "Xian, are you home?" Ji Xian sniffed. "Yeah, already in bed." "That's good. The moment you mentioned the celebration party last night, I couldn't sleep a wink. I was worried you'd drink too much. Don't forget to have some honey water." After her mother finished talking, Ji Xian took a breath and hesitated before asking, "Mom, still no news from my dad?" This time, there was a long silence. Her mother clearly didn't want to answer. Instead, she dodged the question with a bunch of unrelated chatter before hurriedly hanging up. The very next second, Ji Xian's phone buzzed. She glanced down, thinking it was another message from her mother. But no, it was from an unknown number. Manager G, you left your lingerie in my car. Plain words, yet dripping with implication. Ji Xian tapped out a reply with her fingertip. Please dispose of it for me, President Song. Thanks. Then she tossed her phone aside and went to sleep. That night, she had a terrifying dream. In it, her bankrupt father took the last of their money and disappeared, his whereabouts unknown. Loan sharks knocked on their door day after day. Ji Zhenya owed us 70 million. Since he's gone, you have to pay it back. Her mother couldn't take it anymore. Pressure was too much. She collapsed right before her eyes. Ji Xian shot upright in bed, jolted awake by the nightmare. She grabbed her phone, transferred 10,000 yuan to her mother, and sent a short message. Go ahead and spend it. Most of the debt is paid off already. Next day, as usual, Ji Xian walked into the office, only to be met with strange looks from her co-workers. When she got closer, they forced out awkward smiles and greeted her. Good morning, Manager Ji. Ji Xian nodded and kept walking, but the moment she was out of earshot, the hushed whispers started up again. You think those pictures are real? Come on, they're crystal clear. How could they be fake? Damn, I never would have guessed. She always seemed so serious. Who's the guy, though? His face isn't clear in the photos. Ji Xian heard every word. Without hesitation, she turned on her heel and walked straight back toward them, holding out her hand. Silently, they handed over their phones. Ji Xian scrolled through the so-called scandal photos. Her expression remained unreadable as her gaze landed on one particular image, her pushing Song Zhali up against a hotel hallway wall. The photographer was clearly no amateur. The shot was framed too well. Song Zhali's face was deliberately blurred, while hers was in perfect focus. Just then, her phone buzzed. Manager G, President Lee wants to see you in his office. Ji Xian locked her screen, turned to the staff, and said in a calm but firm voice, Meeting at noon. Make sure everyone's there. The moment she left, the gossip flared up again. She's still thinking about work after all this? Damn, that's dedication. Outside President Lee's office, Ji Xian was about to knock when she heard a voice from inside, calm yet laced with amusement. I heard the project manager in charge of this case got herself caught up in a little scandal last night. President Lee immediately let out a nervous chuckle. Oh? Who told you that? Just baseless rumors. Song Zhali lounged on the couch, looking relaxed, but the pressure he exuded was anything but. No rumors. I heard there are even photos. President Lee didn't even blink as he smoothly covered for her. Ah, those? Just Manager G and her boyfriend being affectionate. The young couples these days, it's not our place to interfere. Song Zhali's lips curled into a faint smirk, eyes devoid of any real emotion. Outside the door, Ji Xian instantly recognized his voice. She knocked. President Lee's face lit up the moment he saw her. Perfect timing, Manager G. President Song had some doubts. Why don't you clear them up yourself? Ji Xian had just heard every word outside the door, but her expression didn't change as she met Song Zhali's gaze head-on. What does President Song want to know? She asked. Song Zhali's lips curled slightly. No need. Let's talk about the project. President Lee immediately jumped in. This project has great potential. We're only considering external collaboration because of a temporary cash flow issue. Otherwise, before he could finish, Song Zhali cut him off, his patience clearly running thin. I don't want to hear the fluff. Ji Xian instantly picked up on the subtext. She smiled lightly. President Song, would you like to inspect the site yourself? President Lee quickly responded. I'll arrange a car for you right away. Song Zhali lifted his gaze slightly. President Lee, you seem busy. Do you have time? President Lee had just started to answer but suddenly paused, realizing what was being implied. Hesitantly, he asked, I do have some things to handle. Would it be all right if Manager G accompanies you instead? Song Jiali chuckled. I'll go with whatever the host arranges. Ji Xian's eyes flickered. What is he up to? She maintained her composure. President Song, this way, please. 10 minutes later, they were in the same car. Ji Xian kept it strictly professional, reporting on the project's progress. The site is still under construction. President Wang has been a long-term partner of Wansheng, highly capable and reliable. Song Jiali lazily tugged at his collar, revealing a faint, ambiguous mark on his neck. Finished? He asked. Ji Xian happened to glance up at that moment, catching sight of the mark. Her mind flashed with certain indescribable memories from last night. She pursed her lips slightly, a hint of embarrassment surfacing. She adjusted her posture, sitting perfectly straight, her waist taut, but she turned her head away, clearly avoiding his gaze. Yes, I'm done. Song Jiali suddenly leaned in closer, his eyes locking onto hers. Are you scared of me? Ji Xian gave a polite, composed smile. Not at all. I believe President Song is a gentleman. Hearing that, Song Jiali's deep eyes shimmered with amusement. Relax, Manager Ji. I'm not the kind of man who'll cling to you just because you slept with me once. Your boyfriend's pretty chill, he remarked, watching as Ji Xian stepped out of the car onto the construction site. He followed behind, his smirk laced with teasing amusement. From what I can see, this project's risks outweigh the benefits. Ji Xian switched into work mode without missing a beat. This was never meant to be a high-margin project, President Song. Its strength lies in its long-term stable returns. Song Jiali chuckled, clearly unconvinced. So, you're just selling me a dream? What guarantees do you have? Ji Xian remained poised. You can take a look at the data. The numbers speak for themselves. As he skimmed through the figures, she continued explaining the site's supervision protocols. The moment they arrived, the on-site supervisor rushed over and handed her a safety helmet. Manager Ji, what brings you here? The site's dangerous, you should wear a helmet. Ji Xian took it with a smile. Got it. Thanks for the reminder. Then, she grabbed another helmet and handed it to Song Jiali. He lowered his gaze slightly, eyes locking onto hers. I don't like putting these on, he said casually. Manager Ji, help me out? Ji Xian furrowed her brows but still reached up to place the helmet on his head. The instant she tiptoed to do so, Song Jiali's hand landed lightly on her waist. A jolt ran through her, and she immediately punched him in the arm, her eyes flashing with caution. Song Jiali, completely unbothered, merely said, Thanks. Ji Xian stayed tense, her expression unreadable. The on-site supervisor, witnessing their interaction, quickly caught on. His gaze flickered between the two, realization dawning in an instant. Oh, so that's their relationship. Realizing he had been staring, he awkwardly looked away. Just then, Ji Xian's phone buzzed twice. She glanced down. Xiao Jing had texted her. Are you okay? President Li just called me. I told him the man from last night was me. The moment Ji Xian read it, nausea churned in her stomach. Her fingers hovered over the screen, about to reply, when a mocking voice spoke up behind her. Your boyfriend's pretty generous. Ji Xian turned, but Song Jiali had already shifted his attention back to the site, as if his comment had been nothing more than an offhand remark. She didn't dwell on it and simply replied to Xiao Jing's message. We've broken up. A reply came in instantly. Come on, don't be like that. Our wedding is still happening as planned, right? I won't ask about last night's man, and you can just forget our past conflicts. We're adults, no need to make things difficult for our families. Ji Xian stared at the message for a second before typing a short response. Don't disgust me. Then she blocked Xiao Jing on every platform. She hadn't intended to burn bridges like this. Like he said, they were adults. Breakups didn't have to be messy, especially when they still had professional ties. But if he thought he could use that to manipulate her, then he'd better be ready for war. Ji Xian had just finished handling her personal matters when she overheard the on-site supervisor praising Song Jiali. Didn't expect President Song to know so much. The most higher-ups wouldn't have a clue about this stuff. Song Jiali's lips curled into a faint smirk, his deep voice carrying a magnetic quality. I spent a few years working on construction sites. Even did some grunt work. Ji Xian's expression remained unreadable, but a trace of displeasure flickered in her eyes. Worked on construction sites for years, even as a laborer, yet somehow doesn't know how to fasten a safety helmet? Sensing her skepticism, Song Jiali turned his head. Gone was his usual laid-back arrogance. He now wore a perfectly serious expression. Manager Ji, where to next? Ji Xian responded calmly. Back to the office. Thank you for your time, President Song. An hour later, the car pulled up in front of the company. Song Jiali still had his eyes closed, appearing completely at ease. Ji Xian stepped out, lowering her voice as she thanked the driver. The driver gave her a small nod. Take care, Manager Ji. The moment Ji Xian returned, President Li called her into his office. His fingers were interlocked, knuckles slightly tense. Clearly, he was barely keeping his frustration in check. Without a word, he flung a stack of papers at her. They scattered across the desk, some sliding down and landing at her feet. Manager Ji, I don't care about your personal life. But you saw what happened this morning. This situation has already damaged the company's reputation. Do you have anything to say for yourself? Ji Xian was straightforward. No. President Li exhaled sharply, his irritation spiking. Your bonus for this month? Gone. And I want a written reflection on my desk by the end of the day. The second Ji Xian stepped out of the office, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She hesitated for a moment before answering. Hello, who's this? The voice on the other end carried a strange, almost manic excitement. Xian, it's me, Xiao Jing. You really blocked me? Ji Xian's expression remained cold. No big deal. I'll just hang up now. No need for us to be in contact anymore. Hearing that, Xiao Jing panicked. Wait. Don't hang up. I actually called because I need a favor. Help me out this once, and I swear I'll never bother you again. Plus, his voice dropped slightly, as if trying to lure her in. I'll even tell Auntie that the wedding's off because I decided to go abroad. That way, we can both keep our dignity intact. Ji Xian hesitated for a brief second, her mother's words echoing in her mind. You and Xiao Jing need to work things out. Otherwise, I'll worry myself sick. She gripped her phone tightly. What do you want? Xiao Jing wasted no time. I know you're in deep shit because of last night's scandal. Come with me to a dinner event, it'll be good for both of us. I'll be your cover and you'll be mine. Simple. Ji Xian fell silent, then let out a quiet breath. You mean I'll be your shield, right? She didn't wait for an answer. Send me the location. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Song Jiali glanced at his watch and spoke lazily. Shaolin, don't I have plans tonight? His driver nodded. Yes, sir. You were invited to an event by Rongxing. You previously asked us to decline. Song Jiali's gaze lowered slightly. Tell them I'll be there. Set it for 8. Understood, President Song. Later that night, Ji Xian and Song Jiali arrived at the banquet together, looking every bit like a power couple. Their presence together caught President Wang's attention, and his grin widened. Oh? You two know each other? What a small world. This must be fate. Come on, let's drink. No one's leaving sober tonight. Meanwhile, Xiao Jing leaned in, lowering his voice. Since when were you close with Song Jiali? Why didn't I know? Ji Xian didn't even spare him a glance. Not everything is your business. Worry about yourself. Just then, President Wang pushed past Xiao Jing with a chuckle. President Song's in your hands tonight, Manager Ji. Ji Xian smiled politely. You flatter me, President Wang. I'll make sure he feels at home. As the banquet kicked off, people kept raising their glasses to Song Jiali. Ji Xian, on the other hand, stayed put, never once offering a toast. President Wang quickly noticed and frowned. Manager Ji, why aren't you drinking? Come on, join in. He grabbed a bottle and placed it in front of her. No one's dodging drinks tonight. Song Jiali instantly saw through President Wang's little game. Trying to get me drunk just to push a deal? Before Ji Xian could respond, he casually blocked the drink, his voice indifferent. Manager Ji doesn't need to stay here for this. Without hesitation, Ji Xian stood up and left. The whole place was suffocating. Should have never come in the first place. She checked her phone and saw a new message from her friend. Xian, did that jerk Xiao Jing betray you? Why not come back to me? Her response was simple, we're done. Stepping out into the hallway, she suddenly heard something from downstairs. Breathy moans, a woman's teasing whimpers. Ah, slow down. A man's voice, deep and deliberately hushed. Relax. Feels good, doesn't it? Conversation blurred into gasps and rustling movements. Ji Xian frowned, the disgust hitting her instantly. The hell? Not interested in eavesdropping, she turned to leave. Just as she reached her door, she bumped straight into Song Jiali, reeking of alcohol, a cigarette dangling from his lips. Their eyes met. Neither spoke. But before either could say a word, a sharp, jealous voice rang out from inside the other room. I thought you said you broke up with Ji Xian? So why the hell is she here? Song Jiali let out a cold chuckle. Manager Ji has quite the unique tastes. She didn't engage further and was about to step inside when a man's voice called from within. Where is everyone? Why'd you all go outside? The door was about to open. Without thinking, Ji Xian grabbed Song Jiali's wrist and yanked him into another room. They could not let President Wang find them together. The moment the footsteps faded, Song Jiali reached out, fingers gripping her chin as he leaned down and kissed Ji Xian. She froze. With one hand wrapped around her waist and the other brushing away the stray strands near her ear, he let out a low chuckle. His voice was hoarse, teasing. Manager Ji, you in the mood to play? Ji Xian tilted her head back slightly, her slender waist instinctively leaning away. Her lips curved into a faint, unreadable smile. And if I say no? Would President Song actually let me go? The amusement in Song Jiali's gaze deepened. What do you think? Their eyes locked, one looking up, the other down. Tension between them crackled, heavy with unspoken challenge. Meanwhile, downstairs, the other two weren't exactly being discreet. The muffled sounds of their illicit encounter grew bolder, more reckless. Xiao Jing's voice carried up, tinged with an odd excitement. Sounds like someone's upstairs, baby. Does that turn you on? The woman giggled, voice dripping with coyness. Ugh, you're so bad. Hurry up and finish already. Ji Xian had known Xiao Jing for years, but she had never seen this side of him, this utterly shameless, depraved version. Her lips pressed into a thin line. Under Song Jiali's amused gaze, she turned her head away, refusing to meet his eyes. He chuckled, his grip on her waist tightening. So, Manager Ji likes this kind of scene? Ji Xian snapped her head back, glaring at him, equal parts furious and embarrassed. Song Jiali's dark eyes gleamed with lazy amusement as he murmured, voice low and deliberate, What should we do? I don't like eavesdropping. But if you're into a little thrill, I guess I could play along. Ji Xian forced herself to stay composed. Her red lips moved slightly as she countered, President Song, you should really drink less. Too much alcohol messes with your brain. You start having delusions. Ignoring her, Song Jiali tilted his head, listening to the scandal unfolding downstairs. Did that old man ever tell you who's getting promoted next quarter? Followed by a woman's teasing voice. You cheated on your boss and you still think you're getting a raise? Ji Xian's voice gasped in shock. What? Song Jiali let out a dramatic sigh. Damn, turns out your boyfriend slept his way to the top. Ji Xian didn't hesitate. She pinched Song Jiali hard. If you're so curious, President Song, why don't you go downstairs and see for yourself? Song Jiali winced, rubbing his arm. Right then, Xiao Jing walked out with President Wang's wife by his side. The second he spotted Ji Xian, his face twisted. He instinctively reached out, but she dodged like he was the plague. Don't touch me, Xiao Jing. Then, his gaze landed on Song Jiali, and his expression shifted, tense, almost panicked. When did you get here? Song Jiali lit a cigarette, his tone casual. Been here the whole time. Don't stop on my account. Go on. Xiao Jing and President Wang's wife scrambled to explain themselves, their excuses practically tripping over each other. Meanwhile, Ji Xian remained completely unfazed. Without another word, she turned and walked away. Just as she reached the door, Chiu Lin, Song Jiali's assistant, nodded at her politely. It's late, Manager Ji. This area isn't great for getting a cab. President Song asked me to drive you home. Ji Xian didn't argue. Half an hour later, the car pulled up in front of her apartment. She was just about to get out when a strong hand grabbed her wrist, pulling her back. Song Jiali. He looked at her with a teasing smirk. So you're just gonna leave like that, Manager Ji? Ji Xian pulled her hand away, her expression serious. Something else you need? He finally backed off, shrugging. Nah. You can go. She stepped out and, out of habit, thanked him before heading inside. Back in her room, she flopped onto her bed and started a video call. The moment the screen lit up, her friend's face filled the frame. I saw the pictures. You got something going on and didn't even tell me? Who's the guy? He good-looking. Ji Xian sighed, rubbing her temples. After a brief hesitation, she finally said his name. Song Jiali. Her friend's expression immediately changed. She lowered her voice. Ji Xian, listen to me. Stay away from that man. Ji Xian blinked. Why? You're not from Qingding, so you don't know. That guy's not normal. She frowned. Her friend continued, voice dropping even lower. A few years ago, there was a major kidnapping case in Qingqing. Kidnappers took all 4 of the Song family's heirs. After that, the eldest brother lost his mind, the second one died, and the third barely survived. Ji Xian's eyes widened slightly. And Song Jiali? He's the 4th, right? Not only did nothing happen to him, her friend muttered, but he also ended up forcing his uncle out and taking over the company. Ji Xian stayed silent. People say the whole kidnapping was staged by him. She inhaled sharply, her brows furrowing. Later that night, her phone buzzed. A new message. She opened it, and her blood ran cold. It was a video. In it, a man discreetly handed cash to a waiter. Then, the waiter accepted a small bottle of something and casually dropped a pill into a glass of wine. Ji Xian instantly pieced it together. Someone tried to drug me. The next morning, she walked into the office, with the police following right behind her. The second she stepped into the lobby, heads turned. The whispers started immediately. What's going on? Manager Ji just walked in with cops. Is this about those pictures? Ji Xian ignored the chatter, keeping her expression calm as she entered the office. Inside, a certain someone froze at the sight of her. Manager Ji, what's? Ji Xian met his gaze, completely composed. Manager Feng, she said coolly. Regarding your attempt to bribe a waiter into drugging me, I hope you'll cooperate with the investigation. The moment the words left her mouth, the officers stepped forward. Manager Feng's face drained of color as they placed him under arrest. Meanwhile, President Li was looking for Ji Xian. He seemed pissed, clearly not happy about something. She frowned slightly as she made her way to his office, only to find him in a great mood chatting away on the phone. Our company completely supports Ji taking action like this. In fact, I was the one who suggested she call the cops. Ji Xian paused for a second, a little surprised. That was fast. No wonder people called President Lee a chameleon. Dude switched moods like flipping a light switch. When he finally ended the call, he looked over at her, motioning for her to take a seat. Then, he poured her a cup of tea and gave her a reassuring smile. You went through a lot with this whole mess, but don't worry. Our company will make sure you get justice. After handing her the tea, he continued, still smiling. By the way, that project with President Wang? You'll be handling it. Start packing. You're heading to Dongsher for a business trip. Ji Xian sipped her tea calmly. Wait. President Wang. What did that have to do with Song Jiali? Was she overthinking things? Friday. Dongsher. And somehow, Ji Xian ran into Song Jiali again. She glanced at him, lowering her voice. What is he doing here? The project lead sitting beside her leaned in and whispered, President Song's the main investor in this project. Before Ji Xian could react, Song Jiali turned his head slightly, catching their hushed conversation. His voice was casual but held an edge. Something wrong, Manager Ji? Ji Xian immediately shook her head. Nope. Just then, a woman beside from her extended a hand. I'm Fang Hui, the project lead for Rongsheng. Ji Xian smiled politely. Nice to meet you. Song Jiali, however, barely spared Fang Hui a glance. Annoyance flickered in his eyes as he tossed the project documents onto the table. Fang Hui stood up, smiling professionally. President Song, do you have any suggestions? His tone was indifferent. I'm the investor. You tell me if I should have suggestions. Then he checked the time and stood up. I want a satisfactory proposal by this time tomorrow. And just like that, he walked out. Project lead turned to Ji Xian with an apologetic smile, though she looked less than thrilled. Looks like you'll have to stick around a few extra days, Manager Ji. Ji Xian curved her lips into a small smile. No problem. It's a company-funded trip anyway, I'm not complaining. After the meeting, Ji Xian took the elevator up to her assigned hotel room. She reached her door, key card in hand, when a low chuckle sounded from behind her. She turned instinctively, only to hear, Too bad you like me, but I don't like women. Song Jiali ended his phone call and gave her an amused look. Didn't expect to see you on this floor too, Manager Ji. She gave a polite nod. President Song. Then, with zero hesitation, I have things to do. Excuse me. But before she could leave, Song Jiali stepped forward, grabbing her wrist. Didn't you say you'd treat me to dinner another day? Ji Xian blinked. Was he really taking that small talk seriously? She sighed. There are too many people around. I wouldn't want to ruin your reputation, President Song. Then, she added dryly, unless you don't mind takeout. Song Jiali let out a low, amused laugh. Sure. Your place or mine? Ji Xian quickly pulled her wrist free, giving him an awkward smile. I'll just send it to your room. What do you want? His expression darkened slightly as he loosened his tie, looking mildly irritated. You really think I'm so broke I need you to buy me dinner? Then his gaze sharpened and his voice dropped. I'm curious about something. You and Xiao Jing. Are you two actually dating? Ji Xian stiffened. Instinctively, she didn't want Song Jiali to know the truth. He waited for her reply. When the silence dragged on, he let out a soft chuckle like he'd already seen through her. Ji Xian pressed her lips together, irritation bubbling up at the sound of his laughter. President Song, do you need something else? If not, I'd like to get some rest. For a moment, he didn't respond. Then, a cigarette clicked between his fingers, the glow briefly illuminating his face. His voice, now colder, cut through the air. You were the one who slept with me first. And now you see me and start dodging? His gaze sharpened. If it were you in my position, how would you feel? Ji Xian hesitated, caught off guard. After a beat, she turned back, muttering a quiet, "Sorry." Song Jiali tapped off some ash, his tone unnervingly rational. "Spend the night with me and we'll call it even. What do you say?" Back in her room, Ji Xian found herself thinking about his words, face growing inexplicably warm. Was she really considering it? Her phone buzzed. "Mom." "Xian, how's the business trip? Make sure you're eating well. Don't just order takeout, go to a nice restaurant." A small smile tugged at her lips as she quickly typed a reply. But the message only reminded her, if she wanted to make money and pay off her debts in Qingqing, there was no avoiding Song Jiali. She couldn't afford to offend him. Taking a deep breath, Ji Xian found herself standing at his door. Even after mentally prepping herself, she couldn't shake the nerves tightening in her chest. She wasn't exactly experienced in this kind of situation. Her finger pressed the doorbell. A few seconds later, the door swung open. Song Jiali stood there, fresh out of the shower, black silk robe draped over his frame, hair still damp. His brows lifted slightly. "So, you've made up your mind?" Ji Xian's face burned at his words. Seeing her reaction, he chuckled, eyes glinting with amusement. "You know, when I think about it..." He leaned in, voice dropping. "I'm afraid you're going to say no." Then, with zero hesitation, he tugged at his robe and pulled her flush against him from behind. The heat of his body was overwhelming. A few minutes later, Ji Xian couldn't help but gasp. "Song Jiali," he hummed in response, fingers tilting her chin up to meet his gaze. Then, without warning, his lips captured hers. Ji Xian wasn't used to this. Teasing the intensity, it was too much. Her body trembled instinctively. Song Jiali smirked against her lips. "This already too much for you," he murmured. "Then what are you gonna do later?" Ji Xian clenched her jaw. "Just this once." Song Jiali's breath brushed her ear as he chuckled softly. "I never said once." His grip tightened, his tone unrelenting. "I said you'd spend the night with me." Song Jiali kissed Ji Xian deeply, pressing her down onto the bed behind him. Ji Xian thought he'd get straight to the point, but nope, dude was taking his time, kissing her slowly, igniting every spark without putting out the fire. Her eyes reddened at the edges, a misty glaze forming as she struggled to catch her breath. Song Jiali propped himself up slightly, taking in her flustered expression. When Ji Xian bit down on her lip, refusing to say a word, her eyes darkening even further, he arched a brow, clearly intrigued. But just as his rough fingers slipped under her dress, reaching deeper, "You're a fucking bastard," Ji Xian gritted out. Song Jiali let out a low chuckle. Before she could curse at him a second time, he pulled her waist closer, locking her firmly in his embrace. "If you're uncomfortable, just tell me. We'll skip this steamy part since, YouTube won't allow it." Ji Xian drifted off first. Meanwhile, Song Jiali sat up, his gaze landing on the phone he'd left on the nightstand. The screen lit up. A message from Liao Bei. "Shit, Lao Song, I just remembered who Ji Xian is. She's that college student you sponsored 5 years ago. You little shit, are you actually playing the long game?" Ji Xian stirred slightly in her sleep, her body unconsciously turning towards Song Jiali. He glanced down at her, the corners of his lips curling up into a small smile. A few seconds later, he finally replied. "Mind your own damn business, Liao Bei." Another message popped up. "Relax, I won't spill. But listen to me, being the other guy never ends well." The next morning, Ji Xian woke up to an empty bed. She looked around, Song Jiali was already gone. After scanning the room, her gaze finally landed on his dress shirt. It wasn't exactly long on her, but hey, it covered enough. Just as she was opening the door, and boom, sitting right there was Song Jiali. Next to him, several high-ranking executives from Rongsheng. Ji Xian froze. Oh, fuck. In a split second, she slammed the door shut. The executives had already seen her, though, their expressions ranging from shock to barely concealed intrigue. Song Jiali's brows furrowed slightly, but his voice remained calm as he addressed them. I want a revised proposal on my desk within a week. And just like that, he turned and walked off, leaving the execs nodding furiously in agreement, grateful to be dismissed. One of them wiped a hand over his sweaty forehead. President Song, don't worry, we're not the type to gossip. Inside, Ji Xian leaned against the door, taking a deep breath. Her face was burning. Yep. Bad deeds always come back to bite you in the ass. Her phone buzzed in her hand. A message. Total accident. I'll take care of it. Few days after the meeting, Fang Hui came over, casually asking, What's going on between you and President Song? He hasn't shown up to a meeting in days. Ji Xian put on her best professional smile. Manager Fang, there's nothing between us. Fang Hui studied her with a knowing look, eyes narrowing slightly. Oh? Is that so? Ji Xian kept her expression calm. I know you've probably heard some things. And sure, there was something, but it was just an accident. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have something to take care of. Fang Hui wasn't pleased. What's with the attitude? If it weren't for Song Jiali backing her, would Ji Xian even have this position? Taking the elevator upstairs, Ji Xian fired off a WeChat message to her friend, Wu Shu. That Fang Hui, she's your neighbor, right? Wu Shu responded instantly. Yep. Don't let her fool you. She acts all carefree, but that woman's got some serious tricks up her sleeve. Ji Xian chuckled and replied. Noted. Wu Shu shot back another text. She's burned me more than 10 times already. Oh, by the way, bit of gossip for you. She's trying to chase after Song Jiali. Ji Xian raised a brow, her fingers pausing over her keyboard. She's after Song Jiali? Well, that explained a lot. She was so focused on her phone that she didn't even notice someone approaching from behind. By the time she heard movement, it was already too late. She turned around just in time to see Song Jiali. Ji Xian shifted slightly, stepping to the side as the elevator doors slid open. But as she moved past him, he suddenly spoke. Manager Ji. She glanced up and forced a polite smile. President Song. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes lingered on her for a beat too long. Almost like he was assessing her reaction. Ji Xian looked away, thinking he was finally going to let things go. But then, he chuckled softly and reminded her, Tomorrow night's the celebration banquet. Watch yourself this time, don't end up in another situation. Ji Xian paused, her face shifting through a mix of emotions before finally settling on a complicated kind of embarrassment. The next night, after the banquet ended, Ji Xian and Fang Hui ended up heading upstairs together. Which floor are you on? Ji Xian asked casually. Fang Hui scoffed, clearly annoyed. She hesitated for a second before suddenly dropping a bomb. Did you know President Song has a fiancé? Ji Xian didn't even blink. A man like him is never short on women. I hope you understand that. Fang Hui's face turned bright red. What's that supposed to mean? Ji Xian's gaze sharpened, turning ice cold. It means I don't like Song Jiali. I have no interest in him. So there's no need to treat me like some kind of rival. Fang Hui's expression twisted. She'd been exposed and wasn't taking it well. No interest, she spat. Then why'd you sleep with him? At that exact moment, Song Jiali himself walked into view with Liao Bei standing beside him, clearly loving the drama. Ji Xian let out a cold laugh, red lips curling into a smirk. I was just playing with him. Liao Bei whistled under his breath. Damn, Lao Song, did you hear that? She was just playing with you. Ji Xian turned, only to lock eyes with Song Jiali. His gaze was dark, unreadable. Shit. She knew in that instant she was screwed. Song Jiali stepped closer. his lips curving into a slow, almost amused smile. "Oh? Having fun?" he asked. "Wanna keep playing?" Ji Xian didn't answer. Instead, she brushed past him and walked away, pretending like nothing happened. Back in her room, she took a long shower, then stood out on the balcony, replaying everything in her head. Through a while, she gave in and grabbed her phone, carefully wording a message before finally hitting send. "President's song about what happened in the hallway. I think I owe you an explanation. I never meant to badmouth you, and I apologize. Please don't take it to heart." The second the message was sent, Ji Xian slumped onto the couch, mentally exhausted. One thought echoed in her head. My luck is absolute trash. Bentley's leather seats were ice cold, but Song Jiali's mood was even colder. He stared at the message Ji Xian had sent, fingers tapping absent-mindedly against his lighter. Liao Bei sat next to him, one leg crossed over the other, throwing him a teasing look. "Why aren't you replying?" Song Jiali shot him a sidelong glance. "Not your business." Liao Bei let out a low whistle. "Didn't I tell you? Chasing after someone never ends well. And being the side piece? Even worse." Song Jiali paused, then turned his head slightly. "Do you think she's the type to let her boyfriend mess around with other women?" Liao Bei squinted, not following. "Huh? What are you getting at?" Song Jiali didn't answer, lost in thought. Liao Bei, fueled by curiosity, continued, "Actually, I heard something a while back. No idea if it's true or not, but apparently about 6 months ago, some big-shot CEO tried to keep Ji Xian as his mistress." Song Jiali's brow lifted slightly. Liao Bei chuckled. "And you know what she did?" Smashed a bottle over the guy's head. Corners of Song Jiali's lips twitched. Liao Bei shook his head in amusement. "A girl that broke as hell, yet she wouldn't bend for money. And you think she'd tolerate some cheating bastard?" Song Jiali stayed silent. After a moment, he finally asked, "Then what's the deal between her and Xiao Jing? What does he have to offer her?" Liao Bei raised an eyebrow. "Wait, does Ji Xian even know you were the one who sponsored her back then?" Song Jiali gave him a look. Liao Bei grinned. "Let me guess, she has no clue. 'Cause if she did, there's no way she'd be treating you like this." Song Jiali didn't respond. The next day, Ji Xian's contract signing went suspiciously smooth. Almost too smooth. But even after she sent Song Jiali another message, there was still no reply. Instead, Wu Shu waved her over, looking her up and down before cracking a smile. "You here to pick me up, or are you here for a funeral?" Ji Xian rolled her eyes. "Same difference." Wu Shu leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. "Tell me the truth. Did you run into Song Jiali again while you were in Qingqing?" Ji Xian couldn't help but laugh. "He's the client." Wu Shu shot her a sharp look as they got into the car. "You know, I gotta ask, are you guys using protection?" Ji Xian choked on air. She didn't answer, but the slight pink on her cheeks gave her away. Wu Shu sighed dramatically. "You never listen to a damn thing I say. Aren't you afraid he's gonna chew you up and spit you out?" Ji Xian turned to stare out the window. "If that was his plan, he wouldn't have let me off so easily." Wu Shu fell silent for a moment. Then, thoughtfully, she asked, "You think maybe he actually likes you?" Ji Xian let out a sharp laugh. "You're hilarious." As soon as she stepped out of the car, her phone rang. Her mom. "Xian, are you on your way?" "Xiao Jing and his mother are already here." Ji Xian massaged her temples. "I'll be home in an hour." Hanging up, she turned to Wu Shu. "I can't have lunch with you, I need to head back to Yansheng." Wu Shu frowned. "Xiao Jing's dragging his mom to your house to push for the engagement?" Ji Xian nodded. Wu Shu scoffed. "Unbelievable. That cheating asshole still expects you to clean up his mess." On the drive back, Ji Xian called Xiao Jing. "If anything happens in front of your mother later," she said coolly, "just remember you brought this on yourself." An hour later, she arrived home. Just as she reached the entrance, she heard Xiao Jing's mother's loud, arrogant voice from inside. I'm just saying, Ji Xian is so lucky to be marrying into our family. Seriously, her ancestors must have done something right. Ji Xian felt her patience snap. Before she could step inside, her phone vibrated. An incoming call. She glanced at the screen. Song Zheli. His deep, magnetic voice carried through the speaker. So, I hear you're getting married?